welcome back to my channel. So excited that I got my gullet piece and I had my lesson yesterday with my saddle, and I've learned a lot from riding bareback for 2 weeks. So I learned that I'm sitting really far back on my tailbone and digging into his back, which is creating him to have almost no lift in his back. And I am using my lower leg way too much, which I already knew that anyways. And then one thing that did start happening that came back was that I started using my hands more and started balancing more off of my hands, which I did mention in the last video about my like 2 weeks without a saddle video. And so our canter transition now is broken. I think it's hard for me now to figure out how to take off into the canter, just because I used to brace so much and like sit back so much into the canter, that now that I'm trying to sit more forward and to go with his motion, it's a foreign feeling for me. So that was kind of what our lesson was in these videos that you'll see, is kind of working on that. I'm in my backyard. And then after that, we worked on just kind of working on collection at the trot. So that's something that actually went really well in the lesson and went really well in my ride that you'll see today. But the canter transition is pretty sticky, and what I really tried to work on today with him with that was just to get him to realize that I'm not going to pull his face, and hopefully I'm not going to fall back onto his back when he lifts into the canter. It didn't always happen that way, but I was trying really hard to get it to be like a better transition and just let him know that nothing bad was going to happen. So I'm hoping that this week when I go back to ride, we can start working a little bit further into that transition and getting it a little more clean. The canter itself is fine. The canter itself was a little tired today when I rode it, but the canter itself was really nice yesterday, and I think he was just a little tired from the lesson, but it's just the transition that is really plaguing us. So I hope you enjoy this video today, and thank you so much for watching. Alright, so this is some clips from our Saturday lesson. He was so good. I basically attempted to ride him as if I had never ridden him before, and tried to come back into this now since I've worked on my hands by basically riding on the buckle. I've worked on my seat by having to ride in the bareback pad, and I wanted to come back on to Happy and act like I've never ridden him before. We don't have forward issues, we don't have issues turning, we don't have issues falling down, different shoulder differences. I wanted to come back fresh. So it was a really great ride for that reason, because I realized how many buttons he actually does have that I'm not giving him credit for. So going back into what I was saying in the intro, I'm going to take everything I've learned from riding bareback for 2 weeks and try to transfer it into the saddle. So I want to be able to sit less more on my tailbone and more like centered on him, and more like I'm in a sling almost, like I'm being held in like a sling harness type thing on him. And then I want to also think that I don't have a lower leg. I want to stop putting so much pressure into my heel and bracing on the stirrup, and to put more emphasis on my knee and thinking that my knee is where I am basically like, that's the end of my leg. I also need to loosen my psoas muscle. I do really tense my psoas, which then tenses my lower back, which then pushes against Happy's lower back. And then I also want to be more giving with my elbows, which I think I am doing a lot better of, but it's just my right hand is my dominant hand, and sometimes I do brace a little in that. And then also we're riding in our bitless today, which I'm so excited that we're back in the bitless. I love riding in the bitless, and I think Happy loves it too. So Happy saw an apex predator out the gate, aka the barn cat, ran by, and he was like, oh my god, which then led him to be scared around this next lap of the arena. So we just took our time and made sure that he was relaxed and not pushing him while he was a little bit nervous and like freaked out. I'm also really, really impressed with how just focusing my seat to be lighter and more forward has really lifted his front end. So like right here, he is kind of getting worried about all his scary parts of the arena, because now that scary cat could be in those areas. But if you watch him trot through all these like little clips, he just looks so much, oh my god, the dog is barking. He looks so much more lifted and engaged through his front end. He looks so pretty. So since Happy is still building top line muscle and his core strength, I'm trying to strike a balance between letting him stretch and kind of move through his body, and then also asking him for a little bit more hind end engagement. So I noticed in this ride he started to get a little tired when I started asking for a lot more engagement from him. So I did let him stretch a little bit more in certain areas and kind of feel that stretch as opposed to really rocking back. And I think that's important for us to find that balance until he really can hold himself for like the entire ride. But yeah, I didn't want to push him too hard because I just didn't want him to feel tired and sore and like the work was too difficult and he didn't want to do it. Okay, so we're going into the canter here, and like I said in the intro, he's expecting me to pull on his face and hang on him, and also pull back and fall. So I lose my balance and I fall back. But the thing is okay, you see, I'm getting more forward and I'm trying really hard not to fall back, but he really doesn't believe I'm not going to pull on his face. So he doesn't really go right off into the canter, and then that kind of throws me off balance a little bit, and you will see me hit the saddle when he takes off into the canter. So it's just kind of something where I need to start regaining the trust in him that I'm not going to pull his face, because our canter transitions were never this bad. So I just need to rebuild that trust in him and just tell him, oh, good boy, great job, every time he does canter off. And just make sure I try to sit and get him in a place where he knows I'm not going to pull on him and I'm not going to fall on him. So I do use the whip a little bit and use my leg just a little bit to really insist that he canter, even though he's telling me, no, I'm not doing this, because I don't really think it's a pain or a PSSM related thing. I think it really is just that he's afraid now that his face is going to get pulled off and I'm going to land on his kidneys, and he would rather avoid that. So there was a horse swap happening, and Happy was really nervous that they were going to leave. And I should have been more patient with him there and not have gotten so upset with him and yanked him around that turn. I really am not happy with myself for doing that, but I wanted to leave it in this video because afterwards I decided, you know what, let's go back to something that I know for sure I'm going to get a yes answer from him, and that was to walk and just have him push into a stretch. So that's what we did here, and you see I'm scratching and I'm saying, oh, good boy, and just getting him back into a good place mentally, and honestly myself back into a good place mentally, because I was getting really frustrated, and I know he was getting frustrated too. So then we pick up our trot again, and we go back into also getting relaxation in the trot, and then we pick up our canter. And our canter fell apart really badly here, but the thing that needs to be said about this left lead canter is that my right seat bone does not sit deeply at all. It barely touches the saddle, and then I contort my left shoulder to collapse my rib cage. And it's very hard for him to get into the canter and to sustain a canter with me contorted like that. So this is something that we're working on, but really today was not about getting a pretty, beautiful canter. Today was just getting into the canter and letting him know that it's okay and I'm not going to hurt him and it's going to be fine if we canter, which I think we did end up accomplishing. Okay, I'm back just to say thank you so much for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe. I really enjoy engaging with you guys on your comments, and I really thank everybody who's commented so far and asked questions. It's just really fun to have a little community for my YouTube channel. So thank you guys again so much, and I can't wait for our video next week.